The massive ship drifted silently through the void, its dark hull reflecting the distant starlight. Commander James stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Council vessel Star Seeker *, his eyes fixed on the ancient fleet that stretched endlessly before him. The year was 3457, and what they had just found would change everything. "Another worthless pile of space junk," muttered Council Representative Allen, standing beside him. The tall, blue-skinned alien adjusted his formal robes with obvious distaste. The Council's time could be better spent exploring active sectors. James kept quiet, but his gut told him differently. The fleet they had discovered at the edge of known space was unlike anything he'd seen in his 20 years with the Human Exploration Corps. The ships were massive, each one at least 3 times the size of their largest modern vessels. "Sir," called Tom from his monitoring station. The young technical officer's voice carried an unusual edge of excitement. "You need to see these readings." James walked over to the holographic display, leaving the Council representative to continue his complaints. The screen showed detailed scans of the nearest derelict ship. "Look at the hull composition," Tom pointed at the scrolling data. "It's some kind of self-repairing alloy. After all these years in space, it's still nearly perfect." "How old are these ships?" James asked, leaning closer to the display. Tom's fingers flew across the controls. "Based on radiation dating, at least 10,000 years old, sir." A laugh erupted from behind them. Representative Allen had wandered over, his face twisted in amusement. "Impossible. No ship from that era could survive this long. The primitive civilizations of that time barely had spaceflight." "The data is accurate, sir," Tom insisted, his professional tone hiding his irritation. "And there's more. The ships aren't dead. They're in some kind of dormant state." James felt a chill run down his spine. "Power readings. Minimal, but present. Whatever's powering these ships, it's still working after 10 millennia." The Council representative scoffed again. "Ancient garbage, powered by ancient technology. The Council will not waste resources on this. We should mark it for salvage and continue our survey mission." Before James could argue, the ship's AI announced, "Warning. Unknown energy signature detected." The massive derelict ship before them suddenly lit up with thousands of tiny lights, like stars appearing at dusk. Lines of blue energy traced across its hull, following patterns that seemed both artistic and purposeful. "By the stars," Tom whispered, his fingers racing across his console. "The ship is scanning us." "Impossible," Allen stammered, his previous confidence evaporating. "Technology that old couldn't possibly." "Message incoming," the ship's AI interrupted. "Text only, ancient Earth standard." James felt his heart skip a beat. "Earth standard." The words appeared on the main screen, glowing in simple green text. "Human presence detected. Initiating authentication protocol Delta 73. Please stand by." The observation deck fell silent. James could feel the Council representative's eyes boring into him, but he kept his attention on the ancient vessel. More lights were appearing now, spreading across the entire fleet like a wave of awakening fireflies. "Tom, what are you getting?" James asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Sir, the energy readings. They're off the charts. Those ships aren't just dormant. They're ready for full operation. The engineering involved, it's beyond anything we have today." Representative Allen's voice had lost all its previous mockery. "You said Earth standard. Are you suggesting humans built this fleet?" "That's exactly what it's suggesting," James replied, watching as more systems came online across the massive fleet. "And something tells me we've only scratched the surface of what these ships can do." The text on the screen changed. Authentication accepted. "Welcome, children of Earth. The Guardian fleet awaits your command." James turned to the now pale Council representative. "Still think it's worthless space junk?" Around them, the ancient fleet continued its awakening, each ship lighting up like a sunrise after a long night. Whatever their ancestors had built out here, whatever they had left waiting in the darkness of space, it was finally stirring from its long slumber. And James had a feeling the Galactic Council was about to learn some humility about humanity's past. Tom sat in front of the ancient ship's main computer, his eyes wide with wonder. After 3 days of careful study, the Guardian fleet had allowed them to dock with the command ship. The massive vessel's halls were dark but clean, as if time itself had been frozen within its walls. "This is incredible," he said, his fingers moving across the holographic display that had appeared as soon as he sat down. "The computer systems are more advanced than anything we have today." Commander James walked around the bridge, running his hand along the smooth metal surfaces. Everything felt new, despite being thousands of years old. "What have you found in the logs?" "Sir, you're not going to believe this." Tom pulled up several screens of data. These ships were built during the first exodus from Earth, but according to our history books, humans barely had faster-than-light travel back then. The door to the bridge slid open with a soft hiss. Representative Allen walked in, followed by 2 other council members. Their faces showed a mixture of disbelief and annoyance. "The council demands an explanation," Allen said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "These ships cannot be of human origin. Your species was still learning basic spaceflight when these were built." James was about to respond when Tom called out, "Commander, you need to see this." His voice trembled with excitement. "I found the original launch records." A large hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, showing Earth as it was 10,000 years ago. The image was so clear it felt like they could reach out and touch it. A voice began to play, crystal clear despite its age. "Final log entry, Earth Defense Command. The enemy approaches our solar system. We cannot hold them here. The Guardian fleet will carry our legacy and our hopes into deep space. When humanity is ready, when they have grown strong enough, the fleet will return." The council members watched in stunned silence as the hologram showed hundreds of massive ships rising from hidden bases on Earth and Mars, their designs exactly matching the vessels they now stood in. "Impossible," Allen whispered, but his voice lacked conviction. Tom continued working at the computer. "There's more, sir. These ships weren't just built for transport. They're warships. The most advanced ever created. And," he paused, double-checking his readings, "they're still combat-ready." "Combat-ready." James moved closer to Tom's station. "After all this time, the whole fleet is powered by some kind of eternal energy source. The ships have been repairing and upgrading themselves all these years, following their original programming." Tom's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Our ancestors weren't primitive at all. They were far more advanced than we are now." Representative Allen stepped forward, his face stern. "This is absurd. The Council has records of human development. You were a primitive species when we first contacted Earth, barely able to reach your own moon." A new voice filled the bridge, making everyone jump. It was deep and smooth, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Incorrect, Council Representative Allen. What you witnessed was the result of the Great Reset." "Who said that?" Allen demanded, looking around nervously. "I am Guardian, the fleet's artificial intelligence." A gentle blue light pulsed through the bridge as it spoke. "I have waited 10,000 years to share this truth. Humanity chose to hide its true capabilities after the first exodus. The primitive technology you witnessed was a carefully crafted deception." James felt his chest tighten with pride and amazement. Their ancestors had hidden their true power, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. "But why?" Allen asked, his previous arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity. Why would humans hide their achievements? Tom had found the answer in the computer logs. Because they were waiting for something, or someone. His face went pale as he read further. "Commander, according to these logs, the enemy that forced humanity to launch this fleet, they're still out there, and the fleet's sensors indicate they're coming back." The Guardian's voice carried a note of grim satisfaction. "Correct. The time of waiting is over. The Guardian fleet was built for one purpose: to defend not just humanity, but all sentient life from what is coming. Your discovery of this fleet was not an accident, representatives of the Council. It was inevitable. James looked at the stunned faces of the Council members and realized their ancestors had planned for this moment for 10,000 years. The real question was, were they ready for what came next? Dr. Maria stood before the massive engine core of the Guardian fleet's command ship, her scientific equipment spread out around her. The huge chamber pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to follow her movements. After a week of study, she still couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Guardian," she called out to the ship's AI, "can you show me the activation sequence again?" The blue light brightened, and holographic displays appeared around her. "Of course, Dr. Maria. Though I must warn you, once started, the full awakening cannot be stopped." Before she could respond, the chamber door opened. Commander James entered, followed by a group of angry-looking council members. Representative Allen led them, waving an official-looking document. "This research stops now," Allen declared. "The Council has voted. These ships are too dangerous to reactivate." James stepped forward. "We don't have a choice. You've seen the sensor data. The enemy is approaching Council space." "Unproven theories," one of the other Council members said. "We cannot risk." A loud hum filled the chamber, cutting off their argument. The blue light suddenly turned bright white, and the engine core began to spin. "What's happening?" Ellen demanded. Dr. Maria checked her instruments, her eyes widening. "Someone's activated the fleet's defense systems, but I didn't." "Threat detected." Guardian's voice boomed through the chamber. "Level 1 hostile forces approaching Council space. Implementing emergency protocol Omega." The entire ship shuddered. Through the chamber's viewing windows, they could see other ships in the fleet lighting up one by one, like a chain of stars coming to life. "Guardian, explain," James ordered. "The enemy has crossed the outer warning barrier," the AI responded. "The fleet's automatic defense systems are now active. What you witness is what we were built for." Dr. Maria's instruments were going crazy. The power readings, they're beyond anything in our records. The ships are transforming. They watched in awe as sections of the massive vessels began to move and change. Panels shifted, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden for 10,000 years. The hull itself seemed to flow like liquid metal, forming new shapes and structures. "Impossible," Ellen whispered. "This technology, it violates everything we know about physics." "No," Dr. Maria corrected him, studying her readings. "It doesn't violate physics. It just operates on principles we've forgotten." She turned to face the Council members. "Our ancestors were right. We needed to forget this technology until we were ready for it. Until we needed it." Through the windows, they could see more changes spreading across the fleet. Each ship was now surrounded by a field of shifting energy, its hull gleaming with patterns of light that seemed to bend space itself. "Full defensive capabilities online," Guardian announced. "Analyzing current threat level. Calculating response. Initiating crew integration protocols." "Crew integration?" James asked. The chamber filled with new holographic displays, showing systems and controls that seemed to merge ancient and modern technology. "The fleet requires modern crews to operate at full capacity," Guardian explained. "Your ancestors designed us to adapt to future generations. We have been studying your current technology, preparing for this moment." "This is a violation of Council law," Allen protested, but his voice was weak. Even he couldn't deny the incredible sight before them. Dr. Maria watched as her instruments recorded the transformation. The power output is still climbing. "These ships, they're not just warships. There's something more, something that could change everything we know about space travel." "Warning," Guardian's voice carried a new tone of urgency. "Enemy forces have increased speed. Estimated arrival in Council space, 3 standard weeks. The fleet requires crew deployment immediately." James turned to the Council members. You can either help us or stand aside. But this fleet is awakening whether you approve or not. Our ancestors built it to save not just humanity, but all sentient life. Are you really going to let your pride stop us from using it?" The chamber fell silent except for the humming of the awakening ships. Through the windows, they could see the fleet stretching out into space, each vessel now glowing with power that had waited 10 millennia to be unleashed. The future of the galaxy would depend on what they decided to do next. And somehow, their ancestors had known this moment would come. The command center of the Guardian Fleet's flagship buzzed with activity. 2 weeks had passed since the fleet's awakening, and the massive room was filled with both human and council species officers learning to work together. Commander James stood at the central platform, watching as Tom and Dr. Maria worked with the ancient systems. "Long-range sensor data incoming," Guardian announced, its voice calm despite the grave news it delivered. "Enemy fleet detected at the edge of charted space." The main screen lit up, showing thousands of black ships moving through the darkness. Their designs were strange and twisted, as if they broke the very rules of physics. "They're exactly as our ancestors described them," Tom said, his voice quiet. "The Devourers." Representative Allen, who had finally accepted his role as council liaison, stepped forward. "How many?" 3,000 ships detected, Guardian replied. "Their technology has advanced since our last encounter, but their base signatures remain the same. They are the ones who forced humanity to hide its true power." The screen showed more details of the approaching enemy. Their ships seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them look like holes in space itself. "Show us the historical records," James ordered. "Our officers need to know what we're facing." The main screen split, showing ancient footage from Earth's last battle with the Devourers. The images were crystal clear despite their age. They watched as black ships torn through Earth's old defenses, their weapons destroying everything they touched. "That was why we built the Guardian Fleet," Guardian explained. "Not just to run, but to prepare. Each ship in this fleet was designed to counter their specific advantages." Dr. Maria pointed to new data appearing on her screen. "The fleet's adaptive systems are already analyzing their approach patterns. The ships are literally upgrading themselves to face this threat." They watched as golden energy rippled across the Guardian Fleet's hulls. What had seemed like decorative patterns were actually weapon systems activating, preparing for the coming battle. "Council ships are reporting in," Allen announced, checking his communications panel. "They're scared. Nothing in our records shows anything like these Devourers. That's because they erase civilization so completely that nothing remains." Guardian's voice was grim. "Your council exists because humanity drew them away 10,000 years ago. Now they have returned to finish what they started." James watched as more data poured in from the long-range sensors. "How long until they reach the first council world?" "At current speed, 5 days, Tom reported. "But there's something else. Look at their trajectory." He highlighted a path on the main display. "They're not just attacking randomly. They're heading straight for Earth." "They remember," Guardian said. "They remember who built this fleet, who denied them their victory 10,000 years ago." The command center grew quiet as everyone realized what this meant. The Devourers hadn't just returned. They had come back specifically to destroy humanity and anyone who stood with them. Representative Allen stepped forward, his face showing determination rather than his usual arrogance. "The Council has voted. All available ships are being deployed to support the Guardian Fleet. We will not abandon humanity as they did not abandon us." "Fleet status?" James asked, turning to Dr. Maria. "All systems at full power. The adaptive upgrades are complete." She looked up from her station, her eyes shining with pride. "Our ancestors built these ships to save everyone, not just humans. The technology, it's beyond anything I could have imagined. Each ship is like a living thing, learning and adapting." "Enemy ships accelerating," Tom called out. "They've detected us." The main screen showed the Devourer fleet changing formation, their black ships spreading out like a cloud of death across space. "All crews to battle stations," James ordered. "Guardian, begin final defense preparations." The ancient AI's voice filled the command center, speaking words that had waited 10,000 years to be heard. "The Guardian fleet stands ready. Today we fulfill our purpose. Today we protect not just humanity, but all life that wishes to remain free." As alarm signals sounded throughout the fleet, James looked at the faces around him, human and alien alike, and saw the same determination in all of them. The time for doubt and pride was over. The real test of humanity's legacy was about to begin. Dr. Maria hadn't slept in 2 days. The Devourers were only 3 days away now, and she needed to understand every advantage the Guardian fleet possessed. She sat in the fleet's main engineering lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing the ship's technical specifications. "Guardian," she called out, rubbing her tired eyes, "show me the weapon systems again." The AI projected a new set of diagrams. "Observe carefully, Doctor. What appears primitive is actually beyond your current understanding." As she watched, the diagrams transformed. What looked like simple metal plates on the ship's hulls were actually microscopic weapon arrays, each capable of firing energy beams that could cut through any known shield. The lab door opened, and Commander James walked in with Representative Allen. Both looked as tired as she felt. "Tell me you found something useful," James said. Dr. Maria smiled for the first time in days. "Better than useful. Our ancestors weren't just smart. They were brilliant." She pointed to the displays. "These ships aren't just weapons. They're the most advanced teaching tools ever created." "Explain," Allen said, his usual skepticism replaced by genuine interest. She pressed a few buttons, and the lab filled with new holograms. "The fleet's AI has been teaching the ships to upgrade themselves. But that's not all. It's been teaching us too. Everything we thought was primitive about these ships was actually a puzzle waiting for us to solve it." "Correct." Guardian's voice joined in. "Your ancestors knew that giving you advanced technology without understanding would be dangerous. The fleet was designed to reveal its secrets only when you were ready to learn." Tom burst into the lab, his face excited. "Commander, you need to see this. The Council ships, they're evolving." They rushed to the observation window. Outside, the Council warships that had joined their fleet were surrounded by a golden glow similar to the Guardian fleet's energy field. "The adaptive technology is spreading," Dr. Maria explained. "Guardian is teaching their ships how to defend against the Devourers. Our ancestors didn't just build a fleet. They built a way to uplift all spacefaring races when the time was right." Representative Allen watched in amazement as his people's ships transformed. "All this time, we thought we were so advanced, but humanity was protecting us, preparing us." "Warning," Guardian announced. "Enemy scout ships detected at extreme range. They are attempting to analyze our defenses." They watched as 3 black Devourer ships appeared at the edge of their sensor range. The enemy vessels were like living shadows, their surfaces seeming to swallow light itself. "Let them look," Dr. Maria said with confidence. "The fleet's systems are already adapting to counter their scans. Watch." The Guardian fleet's ships began to pulse with new patterns of energy. Each pulse sent out waves of data that confused the enemy sensors. The scout ships tried to move closer, but they couldn't get clear readings. "Remarkable," Alan whispered. "Your ancestors built these ships to be perfect countermeasures." "Not perfect," Tom corrected, checking his readings. "Adaptable. The ships learn from every scan, every attack. They're preparing for anything the Devourers might try." Dr. Maria pulled up more technical data. "The fleet's primary weapons aren't even the most impressive part. Look at this." She showed them diagrams of the ship's internal systems. "The real weapon is knowledge. Every battle, every encounter, teaches the fleet something new. And it shares that knowledge with everyone fighting alongside it." Commander James studied the data. "How many of the fleet's capabilities have we unlocked?" "According to my calculations," Dr. Maria replied, Only about 60%. The ships are still evolving, still teaching us. By the time the main Devourer fleet arrives, we'll be even stronger. The scout ships finally retreated, disappearing back into deep space, but everyone knew they would return with the main fleet. Your ancestors, Alan said quietly, they didn't just build ships. They built hope for the entire galaxy. Guardian's voice held a note of pride. Hope, representative, and the means to defend it. The true legacy of humanity was never about the technology itself. It was about sharing knowledge, about lifting up all sentient life to face the darkness together. As they watched, more council ships arrived to join their fleet, each one beginning its own transformation under Guardian's guidance. The coming battle would test them all, but now they faced it with the combined wisdom of humanity's past and the united strength of the galaxy's present. The Devourers were about to learn why you should never underestimate humanity's gift to the stars. The void of space erupted with light as the first wave of Devourer ships emerged from hyperspace. Their black hulls formed a wall of darkness that stretched across the stars, threatening to swallow everything in their path. Commander James stood at his post on the Guardian fleet's flagship bridge, watching as the enemy approached. Around him, human and council crew members worked together at their stations, their training showing in their calm efficiency. Enemy fleet holding position at extreme weapons range, Tom reported from his tactical station. They're analyzing our defenses. Dr. Maria's voice came through the communication system from engineering. Guardian fleet adaptive shields at maximum power, all ships showing green status. The massive view screen showed thousands of Devourer vessels, their twisted shapes somehow wrong against the backdrop of normal space. Ahead of them, the combined Guardian and Council fleets waited in formation, their hulls glowing with golden energy. They're transmitting something, Representative Allen announced from his communication station. The speakers crackled with a harsh, mechanical voice. Surrender the human ships. Your species are irrelevant. This is between us and the descendants of Earth. James pressed a button on his command chair. Guardian, show them our answer. The AI's response was immediate. Every ship in the Guardian fleet lit up with brilliant blue-white energy. Hidden weapon ports opened along their hulls, revealing systems that had waited 10,000 years for this moment. Multiple enemy ships powering weapons. Tom called out. They're starting their attack. The space between the fleets filled with deadly energy as the Devourers launched their first strike. Beams of darkness shot toward the defenders, weapons designed to tear ships apart at the atomic level. But the Guardian fleet was ready. The golden shields around their ships pulsed, adapting instantly to the attack. Energy that should have destroyed them was instead absorbed and redirected. Return fire, James ordered. All ships, execute Battle Plan Alpha. The Guardian fleet responded with its own weapons. Streams of light erupted from their hulls, each beam precisely targeted. Where they struck, the Devourer ships' black hulls cracked and shattered. Their technology hasn't advanced as much as they thought, Dr. Maria reported excitedly. Our ancestors' predictions were right. The battle expanded as more Devourer ships joined the attack. But for each new weapon they revealed, the Guardian fleet adapted, its ancient systems proving more advanced with each passing moment. Council ships reporting success with the adapted shield technology. Allen announced, pride in his voice. We're actually hurting them. The void filled with light and darkness as the two fleets clashed. Devourer ships exploded in silent bursts of fire, their supposedly invincible hulls proving vulnerable to weapons designed specifically to destroy them. Enemy fleet adapting. Tom warned. They're changing formation. The Devourer ships began to merge together, forming massive structures that blocked out the stars. But even this had been predicted. Guardian, James called out. Initiate Sunbreak Protocol. Executing Sunbreak Protocol, the AI responded. All ships, prepare for synchronized strike. The entire Guardian fleet began to move in perfect harmony, their formations shifting like a dance practiced for millennia. Energy built up between their ships, connecting them with streams of brilliant light. By the stars, Alan whispered as he watched the power readings climb. "What are they doing?" The answer came as every ship in the Guardian fleet fired at once. Their combined energy formed a massive wave of golden light that crashed into the merged Devourer vessels. Where it touched, their black hulls simply ceased to exist. "Direct hit," Tong shouted. Enemy superstructure breaking apart. The massive Devourer ships began to fall apart, their attempted adaptation failing against weapons designed to counter their every strategy. More explosions filled space as their fleet began to retreat. "They're running," Dr. Maria reported. The Guardian fleet's adaptive systems were too much for them. But James knew it wasn't over. Guardian, status of the enemy flagship. Enemy command vessel detected. The AI responded. It approaches alone. They wish to deliver a message. The massive black ship that emerged from the chaos of battle was different from the others. It was ancient, perhaps as old as the Guardian fleet itself. The real battle, James realized, was about to begin. The Devourer's true leader had finally shown itself, and with it, the answers to questions humanity had waited 10,000 years to ask. The Devourer flagship hung in space like a dark star, its ancient hull scarred from countless battles. On the Guardian fleet's command bridge, everyone watched as the massive ship approached alone. "Incoming transmission," Tom announced, his fingers steady on the controls despite his tension. Commander James nodded. "Put it through." A deep, resonating voice filled the bridge. "After 10,000 years, the children of Earth have finally grown up. We have waited long for this day." "Why?" James demanded. "Why did you force humanity to hide?" The answer came with a hint of what almost sounded like respect. "Because you were the first to truly challenge us. The first to understand what was needed. The first to sacrifice everything to protect others." Dr. Maria's voice came through from engineering. "Commander, you need to see these readings. The Devourer ship, it's powering down its weapons." Representative Allen stepped forward. "Is this some kind of trick?" "No trick," the Devourer voice replied. "We are the great test. We travel the galaxy, finding those who might be worthy. In all our time, only humanity chose to hide their power not to save themselves, but to protect others." Guardian's voice joined the conversation. "Confirming enemy flagship has deactivated all weapon systems. They speak the truth, Commander. This was their purpose all along." The bridge fell silent as understanding dawned. Their ancestors hadn't just built a fleet to fight. They had built it to prove something. 10,000 years ago, the Devourer continued, your ancestors faced a choice. They could have used the Guardian fleet to destroy us. Instead, they chose a harder path. They hid their advancement, became protectors from the shadows, waiting for the day when all species could stand together. James looked around the bridge, seeing both human and council crew members working side by side. Today would not have been possible without unity. "Precisely," the Devourer agreed. "Look at what you have accomplished. Council ships now carry human technology. Species that once doubted you now fight beside you. You have achieved what no other civilization ever has. True cooperation in the face of extinction." Representative Allen stepped forward. "All this time, we thought humans were primitive, but they were teaching us, preparing us." "The Guardian fleet was never meant to win through force alone," Guardian added. "It was designed to share knowledge, to lift up all species to face the darkness together." The Devourer flagship began to glow with a strange light. "Our test is complete. Humanity has proven worthy not just of survival, but of leadership. The knowledge we carry is now yours." Streams of data began flowing into the Guardian fleet's computers. Star charts, technology blueprints, and historical records from countless civilizations appeared on their screens. "This is incredible," Dr. Maria reported, her voice filled with awe. "They're giving us everything. The combined knowledge of every species they've ever tested. Use it wisely, the devourer voice said. Our role as testers is done. Now we take our place among the taught rather than the teachers. The massive black ship's hull began to change, its dark surface transforming into something brighter, more alive. We will return one day, not as adversaries, but as allies. The galaxy faces greater challenges than our test. You will need every ally you can find. As they watched, the former Devourer flagship completed its transformation, now shining with the same golden energy as the Guardian fleet. Without another word, it turned and disappeared into deep space, leaving behind a legacy of knowledge and a new understanding of humanity's true role in the galaxy. Representative Allen turned to Commander James, his expression humble. The Council was wrong about humanity. We should have trusted in your species' wisdom. Trust was earned today, James replied, not just by humans, but by every species that chose to stand with us. Guardian's voice carried a note of satisfaction. The fleet's primary mission is now complete, but its secondary mission, to unite the galaxy's species in common cause, is just beginning. As crew members celebrated around them, Dr. Maria's voice came through one last time. Commander, the fleet's systems are integrating the new data. The ships are evolving again, becoming something even our ancestors couldn't have imagined. James smiled as he watched Council ships dock with the Guardian fleet, their crews eager to learn and share in humanity's legacy. The future would bring new challenges, but they would face them together, guided by the wisdom of those who had waited 10,000 years to see this day. The galaxy would never again laugh at humanity's achievements. Instead, they would stand together, united by the foresight of those who had built not just a fleet, but a future worth protecting.